Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on Happy RC Flyer on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy the content. This is an unsponsored channel. It's unmonetized, which means I don't make any money on the videos. I don't make any money on the aircrafts. I buy them with my own money just like any other working person does. And I make just as much money whether you view the channel or whether you buy stuff or whether you don't. And anyway, we want to have that unbiased perspective. So hit the subscribe button. That helps grow the channel. We want to help grow the hobby and show other people what we're doing to have fun. So here today we have the Warden OA-1K, and this thing is pretty cool. This is a modified E-flite air tractor, 1.5 meter. It's the bind and fly, and this is a pretty cool airplane. I did not modify this myself. I did pick it up from a friend. He customized it, spent a lot of hard working hours on this thing, sweat drops and maybe some blood, and did a lot of customized work. And I told him, I said, hey, if you're ever going to part with that thing, I'd love to have it. And he granted me those desires, and here it is. So check it out. You'll see we have the stock air tractor right over there. And then if the camera wants to zoom in, we'll show you some of the work that's been done to this. A lot of people are not familiar with the Sky Tractor. This is a new aircraft to many of them, but this is an air tractor, or they're not familiar with the Sky Warden, but this is the air tractor. It's modified for the U.S. military. It has a modified canopy or cockpit area, so it can be a two-seater now. Inside there's a lot of electronic equipment. Inside here we have a 3D printed pilot. The cockpit area has been made bulletproof for the military to use. They use this, I believe they started using it in Border Patrol agents, and then they actually kind of merged it in, did a lot of heavy modifications for the military, and then started using it for like special ops and like light arms. So I think a big proponent that really sold this to the military was the fact that this can loiter for like 6 hours, and the overall maintenance and operation expense is a whole lot cheaper than like the A-10. So the A-10 Warthog is quite a beast, quite a machine, one of my favorite fighter jets or low combat aircrafts. And this kind of takes its place for some light combat and support, like a support aircraft, something that can be pretty much launched anywhere, can land and take off anywhere. But I think the big thing was the operating expense. So some things that set the Sky Warden apart from the air tractor, obviously, other than the looks, it's got a different paint job, of course, and it is the cockpit area that's been made bulletproof. There's a lot of laser guided missiles and a lot of intel stuff that's been put into the military version, and then of course underneath we'll see all the armament. So we have some rockets, we have some light cannons, we have some laser guided missiles, and you can tell my buddy did a lot of work. A lot of these are 3D printed. There's other customized features on there as well. There's even been some cockpit lights that have been added in, some green cockpit lights, so maybe we'll try to get an evening shot or a night shot of it. But definitely got the full loadout, and it's super cool looking. I mean, he put a ton of work into this. There's maybe a few features that I would like to add to it just to give some finishing touches, but definitely very cool. I think another thing they did to the military version was give it self-healing fuel line. So if somebody's on the ground and shoots, obviously probably depends on what kind of artillery fires at it, but regular size machine gun bullets and stuff like that shoot into the fuel lines, and it's got self-healing fuel lines, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, a lot of cool features, but this is basically the E-flite air tractor, been heavily modified, repainted, got all the armament put on. Does have the 5-bladed prop, which you'll see the stock one has just the 3-blade prop, and then of course doesn't have any of the armament, so we're expecting it to fly a little heavier. This is going to be the maiden flight. We're operating on a 4S 3200 right now, so we'll see how that flies. We're going to be running it today again on the NX10 radio that I have. So I am looking at, I am tinkering around some with the Radio Master, and so we might have future videos with the Radio Master, but for now we're still operating on the NX10. So we have a lot of wind. We got a pretty good wind right down the runway, but this one does have trouble taxiing, so we'll help it out a little bit there. Looks so nice. I'll be operating on the grass runway. Uh-oh. Little nose heavy. Does have a lot more weight to it, but I noticed that with the stock air tractor, we had trouble with it wanting to the rudder turn in the wind. It is a high-profile aircraft. You can look at the fuselage. You can look at the rudder on it, and of course the canopy is sitting up on top. So even though it's a low wing, it's pretty high profile for flying in crosswinds. Thankfully, Lord's blessed us with some wind, and it's been rainy the last couple days, but we have some wind today, and the wind is right down the runway. So, all right, without any further ado, let's give it the maiden flight. Now, this has obviously been flown before. We mentioned that. Got it off of a friend that customized it and flew it some, but I have not flown it yet. So, let's give it a fly. We're going to go with half flaps. All right, I do have a gyro set up, the AR-637 stock receiver, but I'm not running any gyro on it right now. We're just maiden it without the gyro. I'm going to have to trim it just a little bit. It's wanting to pull down. Still flies nice and slow. There we go. We'll fly downwind, and then I'm still operating on half flaps. We'll fly downwind, and then we'll do a nice slow pass. Get the ailerons trimmed out. Still trying to trim the ailerons. Oh, it's right in line with the sun. Probably going to be hard to see. Anyway, there it is. Can you imagine seeing this thing in the sky and seeing a single engine low wing airplane? Be like, it's not anything to be too scared of. Then as it approaches, if you're doing something you ought not be, maybe you get open fire on, and that would be quite the shock. Crop duster turned military duster. Still operating on half flaps. Try to do a nice low pass. Looks so realistic. This is not an aircraft you're used to seeing every day, at least not all decked out as the air tractor with the military spec and all the armament. Sounds good too. Taking out of flaps. Let's do a speed pass. Very cool, very cool. Gotta pull a loop in here. Flies very nice. Friend definitely did a wonderful job on it. Very realistic, but also still flies really well. I do notice a tiny bit of difference in how it flies. I notice it's a little heavier, but it doesn't seem to affect this aircraft very much. So if you're considering taking an air tractor and modifying it to be a Sky Warden, definitely encourage you to do so. Another thing that was really a real selling point to the military with the Sky Warden is the fact that it can fly so slow. The flight envelope, it can move real slow. Of course, that gives you more time to acquire targets, more time to lay down some fire. Drop those little bombs, fire off some missiles, some cannons. Okay, I want to try full flaps. Going into full flaps now. I did forget to set my timer, so we want to watch that. I don't expect as much flight time out of this one as the stock air tractor. Nice low pass. Plenty of time to acquire targets and lay down some fire. Definitely something that can operate low altitude. We're going to take out of flaps again. We're going to do another speed pass from left to right. We are going to be going with the tailwind, so it'll be faster. Listen. Wow. Very cool. This airframe just maneuvers so well. It's unbelievable. Put in some figure eights here. Again, this is flying with no gyro. You can see it's getting tossed around in the wind. I did measure the wind earlier before we powered the aircraft on, and it was gusting at least up to 10. The way this airfield is, we have a little bit of swirl, kind of about where the airplane is right now at low altitude, so we're going to come in from right to left. Going back to half flaps. This thing is so much fun just to crank around. It has so much aileron authority. Got a nice strong headwind, which means we'll come in nice and slow. Gonna go to full flaps. Not too bad, not too bad, not too shabby. Let's see if we can taxi it around. Kind of guessing we won't be able to with the wind, but it's not going to want to turn that way. Let's try it this way. There we go. There it is, throttle cut. Again, I did forget to set my timer, but I wouldn't expect as much flight time out of this one. I know on the stock air tractor, which has no armament on the bottom, and it doesn't have the extra heavy canopy. Of course, the armament's going to create some extra drag, and it has the 3-bladed prop. So I don't know the efficiency, how well the 5 is compared to the 3-bladed. So I wouldn't expect as much flight time. But the stock one, I usually set my timer to 6 minutes. And depending on how you're flying, if you're flying real aggressive, 6 minutes is pretty good to come in. You come in at like 3.87 volts, which is good storage cell, which is usually where I run them. I don't like to have to charge my batteries up to put them away after I get done flying. But you can fly a little longer if you're just doing scale flying. You're just kind of floating around a little bit, just kind of taking it easy and poking around the sky. You can get 8, 10, maybe 12 minutes out of the stock one. This one I wouldn't expect as much. But like I said, this is the first maiden flight. Really impressed, really happy with it. Thanks again to my friend for selling this to me after putting so much time and effort into building this and repainting it, changing the cockpit. I have seen another one or two out there online, some videos on, and they added some panels here on the cockpit to make it look like it was bulletproof, but they didn't actually do the modifications to make it a 2-seater, and that's part of what distinguishes this as Sky Warden apart from the air tractor. The air tractor is just a 1-seater, and of course the pilot does have instruments, but he's mostly flying by the seat of his pants. In other words, he's mostly flying visually line of sight. And then this up here is the GPS light bar, so it kind of helps track, where he's spraying on the crops and things. I don't know if this is a part on the real Sky Warden. I'll have to look into that a little bit later. But this is the latch for the canopy, so you can't totally do away with that. It does have a little bit of a practical feature, so I do like the fact that E-flite incorporated that in, making a latch into something that's actually functional on the real aircraft, which is pretty cool. So, but yeah. Got the modified cockpit for a 2-seater. We don't have a second pilot in the back, which I believe I have to do some more homework, but I think the second seat is mostly for running like comms and weaponry and stuff like that. Maybe navigations is what they do in a lot of military aircraft. So, but this just has one today. We're just going to maiden it. We're not going into any battles today. We're just having fun, and thought you guys might enjoy it. He did a real good job doing some weathering on it, so it looks like it's been in use for a while. And then, like I said, just really impressed with all the weaponry on the bottom. These cannons all have swivels on them. Maybe I'll have to hook some servos up to it. And then, of course, you can see all the laser-guided missile navigations and target acquisition devices. They're pretty cool. I don't know the names for all of these things on here, but I'll be learning about it the more I fly it. And subscribe if you want to see future videos of this aircraft flying. And maybe we'll incorporate some other things, make it look like it's in the battle, and have some fun. Probably do another evening flight video that shows you some of the lighting that's in the canopy in the cockpit area. And so anyway, I hope you enjoy that. Again, if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. That helps grow the channel and helps spread the fun of RC, and we enjoy doing that. We just share it just for the fun of it. We buy this stuff with our own money, and nobody's giving me free airplanes to tell you to buy some certain thing or cutting my pay. I don't get a pay cut if I don't convince so many viewers to buy something. Like a lot of the channels, be thoughtful, be mindful of what you're watching. I think there should be better disclaimers on a lot of people's channels. I think it does affect people's perspective on things. And I enjoy this plane, and I had to pay the going price for this thing. I bought it from a friend, which I feel like he was more than fair with me for all the time and effort and all the modifications that he did. I feel he's very generous with his time, and gave me a good price on it. Of course, you can't go out and just buy one of these, but this is definitely something that you can do. You can customize it yourself with stuff you have at home. You probably have a 3D printer and know a friend that has a 3D printer, and all this stuff can be done at home. You can customize and make one just like this is. So hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe, hit the like button, drop a comment or a question down in the comment section. I don't have all the answers, but somebody out there does, and it's a good place to have good discussion about RC fun. So share the video with a friend you think that might enjoy it, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.